to the open borders crowd? Absolutely not. Flooding the United States with the world's downtrodden from nations that have hundreds and hundreds of millions of hopelessly poor people. Just opening the U.S. borders and flooding unchecked numbers of people into the United States, well, it's just not going to happen. It's unfortunate, but it's just not going to happen. We're not going to allow the communists of the world to drag America into the abyss. The answer is no, hell no. Now, does that mean we need ICE agents shoving lawyers down in Kansas City and causing injuries to attorneys escorting clients to immigration matters? And the answer is no. That ICE agent that shoved the woman in Kansas City, he should be fired. That was uncalled for. Now, let's move on to the real problem. Barack Obama's little fishing trip up at Saranac Lake. Fishing trip my butt. You see, the giveaway, the tell, is the fishing party that was with Barack Obama. They don't mention their names in the newspapers. It's like Barack Obama met with a secret crew, which is pretty much the truth. And he just went up there to try the fishing. What a load of crap. You need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that what's smack dab in the heart of the cantonal communal forest, the communal community forest there of the Adirondack Park, what's smack dab in the heart of it is a bunch of Rothschilds and Hawkschilds and Boyers. Hey, Peter Boyer, how's it going, old pal? Long story short, they've created a absolute paradise for the world's ultra wealthy in their Adirondack Communist Park. We've got a crew of people up there that have moved in incrementally, like little termites, a little piece at a time. This is precisely how the Fabian socialists operate. In fact, Fabian socialism's doctrine is to work like little termites and worm their way in. And this is exactly what's happened with the Adirondack Park and a lot of other environmental deer park preservation set-aside units. This whole idea of cantonal forests began in Europe back in the 1700s and 1800s. The cantonal forests of England began during the days of Robin the Hood and his merry men. And the cantonal forest, the royal forest of Sherwood. Folks, you've got a crew of people in this world, the ultra wealthy, the 1% of the 1%, that like termites have been setting up the chessboard and stacking the deck against the rest of humanity to make certain that the ultra wealthy, the royal families in the kingdoms, always remain at the top of the pyramid scheme. Now, to my friends in New York, who the hell did Barack Obama go fishing with? I'd like some names. The idea that Barack Obama goes on a private fishing expedition in the middle of Andy Cuomo's state during midterm congressional elections, and the identities of the people who went fishing with Barack Obama are a big secret. Why do you think they kept it a big secret? Because, well, they just don't want you to know the political jockeying that they were doing when they were pretending to go fishing. He's fishing, all right. He wants to be the president of the United Nations. He wants to set up shop right there in New York City, down the block from the Clinton and the Cuomo operations there with de Blasio, and he wants to set up his socialist communist network smack dab in the middle of New York. Imagine that, Barack Obama, old buddy, old pal. You're going to have to get up earlier in the morning than the old swamp fox. You see, folks, I grew up in New York, and I watched Rockefeller, and I watched Hochschild, and I watched Bob Marshall, and Howard Zanizer, or however the name's said, and Boyers, and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers set up that Adirondack Park back in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Yeah, I'm that fox from the Harris Bay. I'm the swamp fox. Folks, this nation's in a lot of trouble because Donald Trump, as much as I agree with him, I still disagree with a lot of what he's doing. You see, Donald Trump, he's got a propensity to be grand friends with Deutsche, or what I like to call douchebag bank. The douchebag bank is massively, well, they're far beyond sketchy. They're a pack of criminals, organized gangsters. And this summer, and it's 4th of July weekend, I'd like to point that out. This summer, the bankster gangster sons of bitches are doing everything to make sure you don't figure it out. They're making damn sure that you don't understand how the gangster banksters rigged the national elections, and it was not Russia. Sorry, Susan Rice. Sorry, Hillary Clinton, but it was your gangster bankster pals. All this stolen money, trillions have vanished, folk, right up in smoke. And they use it to buy and sell political offices, buy and sell politicians. They buy and sell judges in the federal bench, the Supreme Court of the United States. They buy and sell state governors. They buy and sell congressmen, senators, you name it. The gangster banksters run the show, and Comey and Mueller and Sessions and Christopher Wray particularly know damn well that I know damn well. Now I'm going to give you a little assignment for the 4th of July here, and then I'm going to wrap this video up short. You need to follow the money. You need to start demanding that the FBI release its records on who the gangster banksters were that robbed this nation stupid. They looted America stupid for trillions. And the people who did it, they're all friends of Bill and Hillary Clinton's, George Bush and W and H, Big H and Neil and Jebby, and the whole BB&T crew out of Delaware, out of Wilmington, Delaware. They've been operating this giant, massive gambling casino and bankster gangster racketeering enterprise of buy and sell government for decades. They do it with vast amounts, rivers and tsunamis of reserve notes. That stuff they magically print right up out of the thin air. Right out of thin air. They've printed so much money from nothing, they're buying and selling the government all day long. You can start with looking into Western banks and John C. McCone, the former director of the CIA, and the very interesting connections to the Western banks in Houston, Texas, and the triad of AK America there, Adnan Khashoggi and company, with the Bushes and the Clintons and the Bin Ladens and the Gabanafars and I don't know, Robert McFarland there, old Bob McFarland, and Admiral Poindexter and Casey and Oliver North and Richard Secord and Roland Carnaby And the list just goes on and on and on. Correct, Joanna Herring King? Y'all need to get a hold of James Baker III from Baker and Botts here in Houston, Texas. Hi, Judge Lee Rosenthal. Small world, isn't it, Judge Rosenthal? Baker and Botts. Fascinating job resume you have, Judge Rosenthal. Fascinating. And the massive, gargantuan looting of the savings and loans and banks during the 80s, 90s, and into the early 2000s when the bubbles started popping again. How many more cycles of bubbles popping and government being bought and paid for are the American people going to put up with? We'll see. I think a lot of cognitive dissonance and apathy is prevalent in America, and it's sickening. And this is why you've got the big distraction with families being separated at the borders. You know, it's sad. There's people that want to just overrun the United States with the world's poor. Just move them in here by the hundreds of millions. Right, Barack Obama? If you can overrun the United States and turn it into a big socialist, communist dreamland for the dreamers, well, when you become president of the United Nations, you'll be king of the world, won't you, Barack Obama? You and your Rothschild pals from Saranac Lake, New York, in the middle of the Cantonal Adirondack Park. Cantonal, look it up. Communal forests. Take some time and study the communal forests of New York. The communists that have taken over the heart of New York. The worst state in the nation for business, the worst state in the nation for taxes, and the worst state in the nation for inflation. Cantonal, New York. Great job, Andy Cuomo, you stupid son of a you-know-what. Horse's ass. Oh, Andrew Cuomo, the horse's ass from the Albany sewer. Folks, my heart goes out to the world's ultra-poor. I think the United Nations should be squarely blamed. The UN's been operating for how long? With the IMF and the World Bank and the Bank of International Settlements. And you've got entire nations around the world, like El Salvador and Panama and Mexico and Argentina. I mean, folks, it's got to get fixed. And apparently the United Nations, well, it ain't going to happen. And Barack Obama, dude, I'm sorry, pal, but you're a racist little butt. You're a racist, Obama, and your wife is worse. Yeah,